Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and today I am joined by VJ Harris. How are you doing?
I'm making it. Very excited to be here. This is a perfect break from my day job that I just got done with for the next hour or so. So this is perfect.
Well, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today and spending your break with me. I appreciate that. So, if you could be so kind as to kind of like tell people who you are and what you do if they're not familiar.
Yeah. So hey everybody. My name's VJ Harris. Some people know me by Vic. My pronouns are they, them, and he, him. And I am a freelance TTRPG writer. I think most people probably know me for An Elf and an Orc Had a Little Baby with Adam Hancock, which like broke D&D races into parentage and upbringing so that like you have a lot more customization options. I've also been on like a bunch of other projects like Brinkwood, Blood of Tyrants for Blades in the Dark, and also Those Who Wander, which is a 5e compatible setting with Adam once again, and a handful of like other smaller stuff.
Nice. Um, Also, I think you're about to do some streaming as well. Is that a new thing?
Oh, oh wait, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So like I did a little streaming with Sigil Entertainment, myself and like some other creators that we knew. We'd like streamed our adventures, any of our supplements, like my Restless, which is a guide to laying incorporeal undead, was featured on one of the first games we did. And we haven't done that in a while, but I am about to be on a stream running through The Morning After, which is featured in Dread Metro by Keith Baker. So super excited for that.
Yeah, I was not aware of that product, but I did see that you were going to be on the stream, and Keith Baker is one of my favorite designers, so I'm curious to take a look at that and see what that's about. He's such a great storyteller.
He really is, and I've been dying to buy it and look at it, but I was like, okay, I will buy it after the stream.
Yeah,
I don't want to like start diving into it and have to stop or like spoil myself for anything, but I always buy anything he puts out.
We've had him on a couple of times and I had to explain to him that he's one of our arch nemesis, because we also submitted some designs back in third edition, which which is where Eberron came from, and he definitely beat us out, and for good reason. He was not impressed with us as arch nemesis, though. So he's a all around good dude. So, as I just learned that you're a designer because I had found you through TikTok, and actually I had been watching you on my For You page for a while, and I was actually surprised when I realized I wasn't following you over there. And then Mootley had kind of like connected us. Mm-hmm. She sent over a bunch of people for me to check out, and then I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, I know who this is. I am super terrible when it comes to TikTok and knowing people's like usernames and their names because of the way TikTok just works. It's like it's whoever shows up on my For You page as I thumb through.
Yeah, like that's the naming thing is one of the reasons why whenever I do stuff I try to have VJ in everything. So it's like okay, like yeah. they'll maybe pick it up.
So how did you get started with TikTok?
Okay, so I'm almost 28. I'm not really inside of the age demographic per se, but so like chronically online, Twitter, way less Tumblr, but I still pop in there because people like make a lot of cool homebrew they toss on there. And then TikTok came out and like somebody shared a video with me. I was like, oh, this is so dope, and I got on it. And then at first it was just like cute people, food, and then I was like, oh, there's a D&D TikTok community, yeah. So I dive into that, and like I was like, man, because I had ideas, like I wanted to start a podcast, I wanted to like do like video content, but I was like, I don't want to like do long form things for YouTube yet. I don't have the time to do like a long form podcast, and I was like, oh, short chunks, I can do like 1 minute videos and just like talk to people about the stuff I'm interested in on the game and like the people that I like to watch, like Critical Role and that kind of thing. And so it just kind of like springboarded from there.
And also, I mean, if you're designing in the space, you need to figure out how to get the word out as well. Mm-hmm. And finding the platforms that are going to that are going to work for you as a designer. And like doing anything is so hard because there's so many jobs just wrapped into like this one thing. It's usually an individual does. So I also like stumbled on TikTok. Like I was like, I don't know if someone mentioned it. I don't know. I'm like, I guess, is this a thing that we should be doing? And then I looked at it and I started messing with it a little bit. And I'm like, I just feel old. I don't know what's going on
over here. Maybe you should be hiring somebody to do your TikToks for you. But yeah, no, it's it's a good medium. It has its pros and cons. It has a lot of deep pros and cons, including like I mentioned, oh yeah, I love this 1 minute video feature, but then very quickly I was like, I need more. Like maybe video feature and that I didn't have for a hot minute. Like I have a series called Tasha's Cauldron of Nothing on there, and if I'd had 3 minute videos, it wouldn't be 55 parts. It could have been way smaller.
Yeah, true. Although I really do like the 1 minute feature. Like, even though we create long content, like I don't have the patience for it anymore. Or like I like my D&D content in smaller bites, and then like my longer form content tends to be like other stuff, like rotting my brains with politics and stuff. But like I guess because we do so much D&D and tabletop RPG, like Guy Slanders is like one of my favorite creators. I'm like, oh, God, can't you say this in less than 30 minutes? Which is very hypocritical because we can't say anything, in less than 20 minutes either. So I'm impressed with the amount of information people can convey in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So how did you get into game design?
Okay, so I got a really good job in 2019. I was working at a reproductive justice nonprofit. It was paying me well, like it felt like my first adult job. And I was like, oh, I have healthcare, I have a great paycheck. I'm not spending a lot of money on bills. And I was like, and then people had just been talking. I was getting more onto Twitter and in the D&D scene and stuff. And I'm not sure which came first, but I'm pretty sure the first thing that I did was like the Lonely Scroll Adventure from MT Black. And then after it got published, I was like, man, I want to do something that's just all mine. And I was like, oh, I have the money. I can like get cover art. I can like actually pay someone to give me some decent art. And so I spent the better part of like a year and a half like monkeying around with my Restless supplement, which is laying incorporeal undead to rest, like exorcism rules and stuff. Like I got inspired after running Waterdeep Dragon Heist, because I was like, either you kill the poltergeist in the manor, or you like let them run free. And I'm like, I feel like there could be something more there. And finally, like I think it was March of 2020 when I finally was like, okay, I'm going to set a deadline. I'm going to finish this and I'm going to publish it. And it just kind of like took off from there. And and then kind of after that, I had like Adam, for example, reached out to me and brought me on the Elfin and Orc Had a Little Baby project. And like, I just kept getting more and more opportunities off of that. And it just kind of like blew up to where we are now. Nice.
So it sounds like you kind of stumbled into it.
Yeah. Which like I'd already been playing D&D. I started playing D&D in 2015, so it wasn't like I was new to the game as well, just to the creating side of things. And like part of my bachelor's degree is in creative writing, and I'd been DMing and like making my own settings and stuff. And I was like, oh man, it'd be cool just to toss out some supplements at some point. And then
it's it's always difficult, and I feel like most people start off part-time, so it's like, and then like the hobby itself is just so kind of time intensive to begin with. So when you start doing like projects and creating content, if you also have family and a day job, it's very difficult to juggle everything. You got any tips?
Yes. So the way I've been able to like handle things is most important tip: learn to say no. Do not say yes to every project you're gonna love. I had a month where I had 5 different things due in that month, and I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I was so stressed about that. So you gotta learn how to say no. Like people, you might think you're gonna miss out on an opportunity later on, but people like us professionals in the space, we understand not having the capacity for stuff. And like, if another project comes, be like, hey, reach back out to you. I knew you said you didn't have time. Just come back to it. Like the people you're saying no to will understand and can come, and you'll probably have another opportunity to work with them, or if not, somebody else. Also, like what I try to do is I don't work my day job on the weekends. So Saturdays, it's me. I do what I want. I run D&D on Saturdays. I have fun. And then I play video games all day. And then Sundays, which are also like my clean my apartment kind of days, if it's too messy, is like, okay, what do I have on my plate? All right, I need to edit this. I need to make whatever videos I want to make for TikTok for the rest of the week, so I don't have to do that every day after work. And like I just kind of use a Sunday as like a catch-all of like, make sure my house isn't a mess. And like, if I actually have to do anything, if I have deadlines coming up, to make sure I'm chipping things away. Like you definitely got to have at least on the worry, even if it's the week, depending on what your job is, that you just don't do anything that has to do with any type of work. Day job, TTRPGs, absolutely not. And then maybe the second day that you might have off, if you're in good shape for your deadlines and you're like, I don't actually have to work on this today. Just like, okay, I'm going to take that whole day off. And one other thing that I like sporadically do now is so I work from 8 to 6 at my day job. And then afterwards, I'll grab dinner. I'll be like, okay, do I have it in me to put an hour in? Like I'll ask myself that, and I'll only say yes 2 times out of the week, unless I'm like behind on a deadline. Like I'm very like conscious of having my time so I don't feel burnt out and are like, God, I can't do any work in the space anymore. I'm gonna have to step back for a while.
I'm very impressed with that level of adulting. I don't know if I can accomplish that. Very much structure and setting boundaries is what I'm hearing.
Definitely.
And I think that's really hard. It's harder in this space than others because it's also a hobby, right? Because it's like we don't for the most part, we don't go into it starting off as professionals. And we do it because we love the hobby and we love, creating stuff. But that's also like part of the trap.
Yep. Yes, it is. I really try, because like it is still, even though it's a job now, it's also like, it's still a hobby, right? I like play, I run a game that's just for me and my friends. I'm going to be playing in a like private game. And like, whenever I'm doing things that's prepping for my D&D stuff, I'm like, I try to just make it like just a complete hobby thing. I'm like, even if I'm making something that I'm like, oh, I might want to turn this into something I share with others. It's like, this is the hobby. Just get it done to the way that your players need it and then move on. Don't try to finagle with it if it doesn't need it. Don't try and sit there and turn it into like a polished product until later. Like don't turn your hobby, don't turn this part of your like leisure into work.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like some of the advice I've offered up to streamers. It's like, keep at least a game for yourself, where it's not for public consumption. It's you and your friends. Because it's just not the same. They both can be fun, but they're just not the same.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you like to design and create? Because you've mentioned D&D. You also mentioned Blades in the Dark. What's next?
What's next? That's a really good question. I'm almost everything I'm on right now is still D&D. I do have like a big project that I want to kickstart in December. That's like gonna span like D&D, Blades in the Dark, Mass, a couple of other systems. Like I'm a disabled creator, and I really like the idea of like non-disabled players and DMs having a resource to like if they want to add disabled and like neurodivergent people into their settings, like a guide on how to do it like in a non-biased and bigoted manner. And so I've just been like putting it together a team for that. And it's like, that's going to be across the board with a lot of different systems, even though I'm probably like, that I'll be taking a look at, even though I don't know a lot of systems as well as I do D&D. So that's like, happy to branch out there. But like all of my like individual projects, like moving forward in the future stuff is still focused on D&D. Like I've been, there's a site of TikTok called Beggar Tock and like Beggar Teach, which is teaching us about all of these like new systems and stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, like I like them, I save them, I go back and I look at them in more depth and I'm like, oh man, I want to play that, oh man, I want to write for that. Like there's a lot of like still in the D&D space right now, but I'm like, I want to branch out. I want to like go elsewhere, but not sure where I'm going with that yet.
I just learned a thing. I didn't know that Beggar Talk meant anything. Sometimes I see the hashtags. I'm like, I don't know why this is. And also people, sometimes it just seems like people randomly throw hashtags on whatever anyway.
Yeah. Like that bugs me so much. Like I try to make sure like I have a staple of hashtags, right? So I have like Black community TikTok because like I'm a Black creator. I want other Black nerds to find me, so that's there on purpose. And then of course there's Dungeons and Dragons, D&D TikTok, D&D 5e, Beggar Talk, TTRPG Talk. Like I never put any tags that aren't like straight there because I'm like, man, I hate it when I see that. Like it feels like you're just trying to get it on my For You page and popped in, but I'm like,
yeah, like it'll be a TV show that's trending right now or something.
Like I can't get behind it. Like I'm not gonna tell anybody what to do with theirs, but like but yeah. Also, actually, when I first started using the hashtag, I didn't know what it meant. I was like, okay, I've heard it and I know it's related to the TTRPG space, but I'm not quite sure what it means. But it's like, I'm gonna take it. I know the context it's used in, so I'm gonna use it. And then I learned.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just assumed it was another one of the weird ones. I'm like, I don't know. I just assumed I'm old and out of the know. So my daughter wants me to do TikTok dances with her on my account. I'm like, Kayla, that's not what we do. It'll be super weird.
Picture this.
Yeah.
Cosplay as a character you play and then do the dances.
And then do the dance.
Yep. Best of both worlds.
You say that until you see me dance, and then it's all downhill from there.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So what kind of content are you creating over on TikTok? Yeah, you mentioned you have one series that could have been much shorter had you more than a minute, but isn't.
Yeah.
But what can people expect to find over there?
Yeah. So just to give some context, I got a bachelor's degree in public relations and creative writing with a focus in African American and queer studies. The public relations was just a fallback in case I couldn't do anything with the other half of the degree. And like my actual passion was like learning about like I'm Black and I'm queer, and I wanted to learn more about like the history of like the communities I belong to, the current struggles we go through, like just to be able to talk about it in an educated manner and to like write about it in a way that people will want to read, because a lot of times stuff like that is like very academic heavy. And I'm like, I think the way you connect to people is by turning it into a story versus like turning it into this long, boring academic paper. And so when I got over to D&D TikTok, like one of the first things I talked about was how I was feeling kind of underwhelmed with like the allyship of with the allyship of some like streamers, and not saying they weren't doing anything, but just like, hey, this could be improved. And then I realized, oh, I actually like dissecting D&D and talking about like some of the real world influences that are in it that are like mirroring like racist and like ableist stuff, and like just being like, hey, this is here, remove it from your games and it's so much better. So like the things people can expect from me are like kind of twofold, like breakdowns on like the like racism, sexism, that kind of thing within like the TTRPG space, like the actual games and even in the community, because it does exist there. Like we should always be like trying to work through that to make sure it's welcoming for everybody. And then so like I talk about that, and then like, hey, if you still want to do something, here's how you can like still have like, oh, I want to have big, angry, dangerous orcs. Okay, I have big, dangerous, angry orcs in my game. I just also don't have any racial stereotypes associated with them. Like I break down the issue and then give people fun alternatives that like engage in more and like more in-depth world building. And also like, so it's part education, and then the other part is I'll like just toss out ideas for like homebrew mechanics you can put in your game. Like I mentioned, hey, we should probably like go more in depth with how language works in D&D just for like a funner experience, but not get too wild in case the player's like, I don't care. Like one of the videos I want to make next is called Mythic Action Orientated Monsters, and it's like, you know, the mythic abilities from Odyssey of Theros, and then the action-oriented monsters, which I think has been like more recently repopularized by Matt Coble and MCDM, and just mashing the two together and how to create actual epic wild monsters that are just gonna like mess with your players in a combat. So like, yeah, like I like to keep it, I like to have the education, but I also like to keep it fun and just be like, hey, here's a cool mechanic, toss it in your game, or hey, here's a cool product. Like I like to review products, not just my own, like other people's too, because I have like a crap ton of stuff that I bought on the DMs Guild and Director RPG, and I'm like, man, I really want to go through all of them and just be like, hey, I just read through this, check it out. This is what I sold for my game. You should check it out.
There is so much content out there now. It's so hard to, you know, like like Kickstarter is like killing Ted little by little. Because he's like, and then like, you know, I'll like share them, but I have slightly more restraint. So he's like, oh, you're making me go broke.
I'm in that same boat. Like literally, I'm like, I get paid once a month, like at the start of the month, and I have to budget. I'm like, I need to say no to Kickstarters. Like it always comes down to the wire because I was like, oh, that has a mini. Yeah, let me blow $108 on this Kickstarter.
He's got this stack of Conan games, this Conan game, and it's like all these minis, and I don't know that any of them have seen the light of day.
I mean, do they need to? They're just super cool.
I know. Or like Bones is the best. It's one of the best ones because everyone's always like, they're backing like Bones like 5, and they're still working on painting Bones 1 or 2. Although it's kind of cool. Ted's been banging them out. Every time I go over there, I see more and more painted minis. So
I want a bunch of minis. I want a 3D printer. And like, even though I don't technically have the space or anywhere to put them, I'm like, I just want to build my collection. So when I finally get in like a home that I think I'm going to stay in for a hot number of years, I can just start curating the way I want. Like you see the background, you see your background, you see mine. I want yours. That's what I want.
I think it's just because I'm a bit older. Like, and also that's Ted's. It's technically Ted's stuff, but because it's
okay. Well, I want Ted's then.
But he comes from a long line of pack rats, and they just love stuff, you know. And of course, like, you know, so for him, it's all like board games and D&D stuff. Like I used to get a lot more RPG stuff than I do now. And now it's more like, more often than not, I'm just backing people that I like, because I had an epiphany like a couple years ago. I'm a fan of Monty Cook Games and the stuff that they put out, and I went over their site to get my backer rewards from one of the Kickstarters, and I realized I had so much stuff over there that I never claimed, and it doesn't like expire or anything; it just sits there, right? So, and I finally got it. I got these like 2 big boxes of books, and I was like, oh, I might have a problem. So it's like,
oh, just might.
Yeah. So that has actually curbed my backing of Kickstarters and buying stuff. And also too, like as a gamer, I tend to just use the basic stuff and like tweak it and make stuff up on the fly anyway. So it's like you end up with all this cool stuff and I don't even end up using it. So it's so sad.
Like that's exactly what's happening with me. And I have like, well, one, I buy all of the hardcover books that Wizards of the Coast puts out. For the like the special covers, like those look so cool. I'm like, I just want them. Even if I I have all pretty much all of the old ones that I just haven't either never cracked open or only like read 3 pages of, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then all of the like other things that I have that are way cooler, I'm like, yeah, I totally want to go through these and steal things and put them in my game and like different parts of my history. I haven't done that yet, but we'll see if I can't like kick that up into high gear soon.
What is your favorite Wizards book?
What is my favorite Wizards book? Oh man. I'm gonna have to. Well, okay.
It's like picking your favorite child, right?
Right? Okay, so honorable mention, gotta say, Keith Baker's Exploring Eberron. I know it's not a Wizards book, but it should have been because that was dope. I love it. Got the hardcover and the PDF. It's a tie between Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, even though I don't like how they handled like the race and stuff. They have great subclasses. Love me over Night. Mythic Odyssey of Theros. I love that kind of mythology, and like it gave me like the mythic stuff that I hadn't like thought about before. And then Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, specifically because there's chronomancy in there. Like and like Matt does a really good job. Does a pretty good job world building and stuff, and it's nice to just steal things. But like there's chunks from all 3 of those that I'm like, so like it's a tie. Those 3.
That makes sense. I really like Volo's Guide for like the front section of the book where it just like goes in depth into the different races and explores them a deeper. Just because we don't get as much of that as we used to.
Right, like I know it might not be financially feasible to do it, but I'm like, could y'all not just put out more articles or something somewhere where we could read, be like, hey, here's the ecology and life of I don't know, beholders or something.
I mean, they probably could do that and then like compile them later and just make it into a book. And they would give them like all the data on like, because everything they do is based on data now. It's like, because I know someone was telling me like people are complaining about things that didn't make it into particular books, but like we know from talking to them that means they did not meet the 70% threshold on their surveys. So, yeah.
Which is why surveys are also very important. Everybody should do them if you really want your stuff and things. But yeah, like it is what it is. There's a bottom line.
So do you find yourself playing more or GMing more?
I definitely GM more than I play. Hopefully that's changing with the stream game and another personal game I'm just a player in. I've been in a year-long campaign right now that I've been DMing, and like once it's done, I was like, yo, I can't do this long thing anymore. And we're actually thinking about like finding someone who actually likes to DM long term to take my place. And that way, like when they need a break, I'm like, oh, I'll run a month-long campaign, sure. And that way I'm like, ooh, I don't have to be in charge of
Isn't that what every group's really looking for, though?
Yes, like that. I'm hoping, like, fingers crossed. Otherwise, probably what'll happen is I'll be like, yeah, let's do a 3-month campaign, and then somebody else take over for a few months. I don't think I'm ever going to do like another year-long campaign. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to do that, but we'll see if I eat my words as I get older.
The thing that's worked for us is like, so we don't game every Saturday, but almost every Saturday. So we game like 3 Saturday nights out of the month. And it's like, so me and Ted are in all the games, and some of the players cross over to them, but not all of them. So like most people are just committing for like 1 Saturday a month, which is a lot easier. But like each one of those is a different game, so it's not the same GM for every session. Which, I mean, it's a lot slower as far as like the pace and getting things done, and trying to remember what happened last is kind of a pain. But also like no one ever feels like they're burned out. and that they just GM all the time and they don't get to play. So I mean, it is kind of a trade off.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's what's worked for us is the first time we've ever like finished campaigns. They just take much longer.
Well, that could be good. That could be a good idea. I'm gonna float that to my players.
Yeah.
I need something different.
Well, and then we try and like do like two of the games are D&D, and then one of them something else.
That would be good. Like there's a bunch of like non D&D games I want to try. Kids on Brooms, Kids on Bikes. I Hunt. I bought this like one game that's like there's a zombie apocalypse, but the actual issue is that like capitalism is still a thing. So some people are getting more resources than others, and that's actually the problem. The zombies are the backdrop, the people are the issues, which I think is like quintessential zombie
Yeah.
media. It's the people, and like I want to play that, like a lot of cool stuff.
That's funny and accurate. Zombies are like a minor problem next to unfettered crony capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of characters do you like to play?
Okay, so I've just I've made the decision that in every game I'm play. Okay, I've made the decision in every game that I play, I want to be like a tiefling, a half orc that's also half tiefling. And like a lot of the times when I play with people, they let me like be like, hey, can we use an elf and an orc had a little baby so I can actually make it mechanically half tiefling, half orc. And so like I'm like, okay, I only want to play my boy Tazriel, that's his name, in any game I move forward. But like the only thing that stays the same is the name and his parentage. Everything else changes: upbringing, background, personality, class. I know there's a stigma around like bringing over characters that have like history from different games, and I'm like, I don't do that. I just always want to play a different version of Tazriel. And what I really like I have some archetypes I like. I like the this particular archetype I only play with my like really close friends because they know me well enough. And like it's like we're comfortable with each other like that. It's like the walking bisexual stereotype of like, yeah, I'm hot and I want to sleep with everybody, regardless of class. So I play that with some close friends. I also like to like in the streaming game, my boy's a spore druid orc, or will be a spore druid orc when we get to that point, and he's very much like a haughty, self-important. My people are doing an amazing job, and I'm just as important, even though like his people are essentially exiling him without actually doing it. Like I that kind of character who thinks he's so important, but then finds out like, oh, I'm not. A good himbo, a good himbo is also fun for me to play. But also like sometimes I don't get to do this a lot, like the mastermind type player that's like, yes, I will unravel every single mystery you put before me using the combined wits of myself and my companions. Like that's those are like kind of some of the fun ones I like to do.
So it sounds like you need more games to play these characters in.
Yes. Oh, gotta say, favorite class is Warlock, so I will like play Tazriel as a Warlock multiple times, but as different patrons.
Yeah, Warlock is like one of the classes that thematically is like one of the best. I'm always mechanically disappointed.
You know what? I can't argue that. I'm mechanically disappointed at parts too. Yeah, I think mechanically, my boy, my Warlock buddy needs an overhaul. And like I keep telling myself, like, look, I want to overhaul the sorcerer because I'm a big proponent of make the sorcerer a con caster, and I know it can be broken. And seeing how you balance that, or like combining the fighter and the ranger into one and just having a bunch of subclasses. But also, I'm gonna take a crack at the Warlock. We're gonna do something about you one of these days.
I feel like if they were to take the Eldritch Blast and the way they built the invocations around it, did that with other cantrips or other features to make some like interesting options for the Warlock. I mean, Hexblade, kind of fixes things a little bit and has made it better. where you can viably do something other than Eldritch Blast. But it just feels like in combat, what are you going to do? So,
okay, see, I agree. Like I was playing a Hexblade, but I was using Eldritch Blast most of the time because that was the most optimized thing to do, unless like somebody was in my combat range. But I was like, man, if they would like make an invocation thing where you could channel the Eldritch Blast through your weapon, any weapon of your choice, like a sword or a bow, then you could be like, okay, I can be like a upfront, close and personal, and not feel like I'm giving something up because Eldritch Blast is so optimized in this game. Like, just like it could be great. It could be great. Like that would need some tweaking, obviously, because like Eldritch Blast having that disadvantage when you're up close is probably what keeps it from being too like range spells having that disadvantage is probably what keeps it from being like too like, I don't want to say broken, but like too much. But like something like that where you could just channel the energy through any weapon of your choice would definitely open up people playing as warlocks in different ways.
Yeah, I could definitely see something like that where maybe it's a change where it's not an arranged attack anymore. Because I mean, I feel like convincing the warlock to go up and to get close and personal is actually more. It's like you're tricking them more than anything because, I mean, a die 8 hit points isn't bad, but they don't have the armor class or the mobility of the rogue, in order to like get in and attack and get out to make it work in a way. Because then you're a warlock, you run up there, you're wearing light armor, and you're whacking things. If you could channel with your Eldritch Blast, it would make you more effective offensively, but defensively, it still might be problematic. But that being said, like depending on like how you build it, there might be some fun and interesting ways to take that. So I would definitely like to see something, and because it's like, I mean, spells, it's not even worth mentioning. It's like, for the most part, you're gonna cast Hex, and then half your spells are gone until you can take a short rest.
I do like mentioning the spells as far as like multi-classing. Like I'm a big fan of multi-classing into warlocks from other spells, even though because since it's doing pact magic, you don't have to figure out like all of that weird math when you if you're a wizard, you multi-class into a sorcerer or a cleric or a druid, and I'm like, see, this is why I think the warlock is the best class to multi-class into as a spellcaster. If you're doing other things, but in general, on its own, the spellcasting is lackluster. Yeah,
but I don't know. So third edition, this was when they kind of the very tail end. I feel like that's when they introduced the warlock, and it was a bit different, than it is now. But also, warlock gives you the most combinations. But I think we were playing this Spelljammer game that we would run Thanksgiving Eve, and it was an annual game. And so we would just do these big level jumps between sessions since it's once a year. And Ted built a great old one warlock that was a pack blade. And then once he jumped to a certain point, he's like, can I change this pack blade part? Because really the last thing I want to do is hit anything with a stick. And it was pre-Hexblade.
Yeah.
Where it started to make a little bit more sense. Yeah. But thematically, the idea of summoning and creating the pact weapon is super cool. But then you do it, and then it just kind of falls flat. You're like, I don't want to be in the middle of this chaos anymore.
But the warlock just needs some more love and attention. Really just needs some. If I had my way, I'd be like, yo, Woods of the Coast, bring me on. I will love the warlock. I will give it all the love and attention that it needs.
I feel like they could do a source book just on warlocks, both from the DM and player side, and make a really good book. I don't feel like they need to do it for every class. That's definitely a 3rd edition trap, and maybe even 4th edition that they want to stay away from. But warlock is different enough where I feel like you could, because you could delve into the patrons and as well as just the class. And also it's warlocks are great villains.
Really? They really are, and especially like in my head, whenever I have a warlock be a villain, it's like you think that's the BBEG. Like you might be thinking, oh yeah, like this is like if I had a campaign where my players were going up against a warlock as the big bad, and they got to the end where they defeated the warlock, and like they'd be like, yeah, we finished the campaign, and the warlock's dying, but it's like I was an emissary of my patron, and then real fun starts. Like it's like two BBGs built into one.
And then a Cthulhu appears. So
I hope none of my players are watching this, but like the game I'm currently in, it's like the big bad is the big bad right now is one of the players' triplet brothers because they got infected from another player, and like I'm like if the brother stays connected to like the eldritch entities, gonna like take some levels of warlock, great old one, get some other stuff in like that, and they're gonna like think that they defeat him and that's it, but then here comes the unending hunger that's just gonna devour everybody, and like super excited for that.
Nice. Yeah, I love when you could like spring those kind of like plot twists on them. Oh, you thought it was over? Nah, not quite. So, of the things you've worked on from a design standpoint, what is your favorite?
Oh, without a doubt, Elf and Orc Had a Little Baby. So part of the reason I was really excited to be on the project with Adam is because I'm a firm believer that like I don't think ability score improvement should be tied to anybody's race. It feels kind of like in-game bioessentialism to me, which is just like the idea that a group of people are always going to be good or bad at something because of their race versus like their upbringing and stuff. True in the real world, and it just feels like it's mirroring some like weird real world stereotypes and stuff. So like when I was brought on, I was like, yeah, we can totally change that. I was like, yes, like I'm always so excited to be able to do that. And like we're planning on doing an Elf and Orc Had a Little Baby Part 2 with a bunch of different stuff that's been like put on the DM's Guild, like it's come out recently, that kind of thing. So like that's definitely got to be like. And I also was on I also did like for another project for somebody else who wanted to like bring in like possum folk and stuff. And I went in and like separated their like races the same way we did in Elf and Orc. So like I've been doing that consistently on like different projects along with Those Who Wander, which is our 5e compatible setting. And so like just being able to do that and just outside of removing that weird bioessentialism I don't like, it gives so many more player options. Like I'm all about players having every option to make whatever they want, however they want, and like being able to tell interesting stories because you're like, yeah, I might look like a turtle, but my great grandfather was a shifter, and I can also like shift into a thing sometimes because of it. Like super excited whenever I get a chance to do that.
So I think like Pathfinder 2e, like you get your stat adjustments from your ancestry, which was I guess the D&D analog for race, your background, and your class. But even like I think most of your ancestries are like, and most of the stats are like it's usually a +1 between two different stats, and then one where you put wherever you want is generally how they are. So they're still like kind of pigeonholed, but with more choices. And then also like it's built up over these like series of choices that you make, and they all kind of equally affect how your stats end up looking. Which is also a lot more complicated, I guess, too, as far as like the first time we made characters, we didn't look ahead. We just like looked at each option as it would come up and picked the one that was the most appealing to us. So if you're trying to build an optimized character, it wasn't the best way to do it, and requires a bit more mastery for sure. So how do you think stats should be, or how do you feel they should be done?
So I'm not against, so I think, here's how I think stats should be. So honestly, I'd love it if Wizards of the Coast would take the stance. So like D&D race breaks up into two things, parentage and upbringing. So your parentage stuff is like your dark vision, your wings, potentially any magic you get, like maybe you're inherently magical, or maybe it's like more your culture values magic, so therefore you are always taught this in said culture or upbringing. But yeah, so like the things that are 100% like definitely tied to your race should stay with parentage. So like I said, wings, that kind of thing, and things that can like, and then intel and like your ability scores, I definitely think should be more of a cultural thing. Which, to be fair, even if you like remove it and put it to upbringing, that's still making like a lot of assumptions there. But like it's D&D, we got to make some assumptions here, so it's not like
right.
on for real. But yeah, so then I think like ASIs, tool proficiencies, language proficiencies should all be tied to upbringing. Because if I'm an orc who was born to a family of tieflings who live in a predominantly elven society, who live in an elven society where Elvish is the language they use and learn, why am I gonna know orc? And why wouldn't I get elven weapon training from that? Like the society I live in prioritizes that, so I should be getting that. So like that's how I like to have race broken down into like those kinds of things, and it feels more like it feels more realistic. Like I know like it feels like it adds to verisimilitude for me. It's like, yeah, okay. Because it would be weird for me to hear like my players come to me and like, yeah, I was raised with elves and I only speak orc in common. And I'm like, that just breaks it. That just breaks the immersion for me at that point.
Now, I mean, I guess stuff like that in our own games, I guess we never worry about it because, like, if someone's like, hey, I grew up with elves, but I'm an orc and I wouldn't know orcish, can I know elven instead? We'd just be like, okay.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, but, you know, at the same time, I feel like as a game, as designers, they have to, like, have, like, this shared experience so everyone is on the same page, right? And then, but, in like, then the problem is if you want to change something, people then refer to that common shared experience as a reason not to change it. Even though the designers always have, since the very beginning, have always given us the permission and said, yes, you should change it and make it your own. But you still see people tweeting at Jeremy Crawford, can I do this in my game? I think he should just always be like, no, you can't. Absolutely not.
Uproar. Yeah, like that thing right there is like people are always asking the question, which is another reason why I'm like, yeah, I really like it, why I think it was great that we like put it to pen and paper and like sell it. It's like, look, they're definitely going to be DMs. They're always going to be asking like, can I do this? And if they find a supplement that does the things they want to do, they'll feel more empowered to say yes. Hey, this is here. You can do this. Like, here are rules. Like, I don't have to make anything up. And this is like already, it's been codified. You can do your thing. And I don't have to like feel like some type of way about saying yes or no or whatever.
Now, I mean, personally, I like the stat adjustments, but I don't feel strongly enough about it to try and tell other people that they have to like it that way either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so like everyone should enjoy the game how they want. And you know, at the end of the day, someone's not going to be happy. It's just the nature of the beast. But you know, we can try and find, you know, commonality and figure out where to make the changes and see what people, you know, really want from the game. You know, getting rid of D&D races at some point is going to happen and needs to, and it doesn't really make sense either. Like, they're, you know, a halfling and a minotaur or a centaur, they're like so different too. So like that's where I kind of get into like where sometimes the stats to me make sense, because you know I feel like, well, a halfling's not going to be as strong as a minotaur or as hardy. No. Now I guess there's other things in the game that we do, like powerful build and stuff, where it could be like the parentage kind of like makes up those differences.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm just always curious, you know, other people's take on things and how they do it. Like, I guess because like I've never looked at like a D&D race and thought of real people. Like you were saying, like you were saying even one of your TikToks about people, you know, using a straw man about playing, oh, we can't play elves, or you know, other fantasy races. I guess because I never like considered like a real world analog to those races. To me, they're just all fictional things.
which is completely fair. Like most people don't. And like honestly, a lot of the times those of us that like bring up like, hey, this kind of mirrors this is because of like additional education. Like to be honest, I hadn't gotten my degree in what I gotten, and I'd probably be like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. And then I was like, oh, I've seen this like exact words used for like Black people and like indigenous. So like that's where the like and like I hope I'm making it clear that I don't think anybody from 5th edition who like kept things in the game are like doing it in a malicious manner. Like, oh yeah, they're totally wanting to represent people of color here in a bad light or anything. It's just like we like, you know, we internalize things we hear and read and like we repeat them in places and
they're legacies.
Yeah, they're legacies. Like they're here. Like we put them back into games. Well, this ties back to this, and I doubt you did it on purpose, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, even our own videos, like I try to be more conscious of the words we use and what we say, and mindful. You know, I try not to use words like primitive and savage. And it's like trying to figure out like alternatives to that, like natural or you're tied to nature and you know, having grown up through, you know, all the different editions, there's a lot of baggage that comes with that, and a lot of like relearning and reprogramming. And the older we get, the harder it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, I always want to like give grace to people that are like, yeah, we've got baggage. We're looking at it. We're reading through it because like nobody's perfect, and like a lot of people don't like. Most people don't like have an education on the topic or don't do like reading in their free time on it. Like, not to say that you have to have a degree to like recognize the stuff. Like you can perfectly be as educated as I am on the topic just from your own reading. Like not something you couldn't do, but like a lot of people don't do that. And that's not a failing on their part. It just is what it is.
I think the key is when you're presented with new ideas that maybe challenge your ideas or old ways of thinking is to be open-minded to explore them.
Yeah, like even if I'm having an argument with somebody that I'm like, I feel like you're 100% wrong, but if you give me evidence, if you send me somewhere, I will read it. I will go through it. I will keep an open mind reading it. Like, I'm not gonna like, even if like, I'm not gonna shoot down what you're telling me, even if I'm like, I feel like you're 100% wrong right now, because I'm like, I can always be wrong. I am not perfect. There's new information coming out all the time. And it's like, why is it so hard just to be like, okay, I'll listen. I'll give it an open mind. Give me your sources. Tell me what you're saying. Let's hear it out.
And so there's like things that like I fall in the middle of. Like right now, and recently there's like been big discussion about playing people of color if you're not a person of color in games. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if I agree with it, but I cannot agree with it and still respect the people who are telling me that it's not okay. If that makes sense. Like I can still be digesting it and go like, I'm not going to do that anymore out of respect for these people who are saying that, you know, this is problematic to them.
Even if you're like, I don't actually think it's problematic, but like, I can respect you. Like, and like, and honestly, like you probably know I'm one of those people, and I'm like, look, I don't need everybody to like, it feels like such a trivial thing. Like, there's like 50 different races you could be, right? And it's like, look, just play something else, no big deal. Or just be, or if you're still gonna do it, like I had somebody come into one of my comments that was like, nah, fuck this. I'm gonna keep
all right.
And was just being an ass in my comments. And I'm like, you didn't have to do that. Like you literally don't have to come and be an asshole in my comments if you're just not gonna listen. You could just not do that and keep doing your thing.
I don't think it's ever really come up in our D&D games anyway, to be honest with you.
And it doesn't for most people. Like literally most people aren't going to be doing that in the first place. Like it's such a like non-issue for most tables that it's like, look, most people aren't doing it anyway. We're just talking about it to like talk about why it's a problem and the experiences we've had with it. Like you probably weren't doing it to begin with. And now you're like, no, I'm going to do it now because you're what?
I will say playing other non-D&D games is where it would come up sometimes. Like where it was maybe it's more of a modern game. and someone's like, oh, I want to play this urban character, and they have an idea. And yet, like, our groups have always been pretty good and pretty open. So, like, even if someone did something maybe they shouldn't have, I don't feel like they ever did it out of like malice, and I don't feel like most people do that anyway. I mean, not to say there aren't a-holes out there, because obviously we know they all exist.
I also don't think most people do like weird things around that on purpose. Like all of my, like, I feel I always want to like try and get that across in my videos, so nobody can like make a statement that like, oh, you think all XYZ people are terrible or malicious. No, I just don't think intent automatically erases impact. Like, I acknowledge, like, I know a lot of people aren't intending to do this. I know most people don't intend to, but like, I don't suddenly think everybody's trying to, I don't think anybody's really trying to, I don't think most people are trying to be assholes when they do stuff. Like, it's just, stuff happens.
Yeah, we just don't think playing the game, doing the thing, or whatever. Yeah. And it's not until we start thinking about things more critically that it even comes up. And that's why, like, when we have these platforms where we have these deeper discussions and delve into the game. I mean, one of the reasons that I really love TikTok is the fact that, like, it has exposed me to a lot more views about the game and different communities that we weren't getting on some of the other platforms, and my guess is because TikTok just has a lower barrier to entry, so more people are doing it. It's ease of use, but we just don't have as many people of color creators on YouTube. I mean, we ran into the problem when we wanted to do a YouTube channel, and the kind of the premise was like your favorite YouTubers. Well, we started doing that, and we look around, and guess what? They all look like, we all look the same. But I think the spaces are getting better, and also I feel like TikTok to me is one of the more innovative things to come to the tabletop RPG space in a long time, since maybe Critical Role, in my opinion. Because it has given voice to a lot more people. And it's also why I go there a lot of times to bring people on here and talk to them. Because, we get to diversify the voices and hear what other people have to say.
Exactly.
So, I appreciate you, doing TikTok and being one of those voices, and, lending your voice to the community.
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to fanboy over here. Like I said, I'm a really huge fan, and like just hearing you say all that just make me like Well,
to be honest, it's exciting to me when I hear someone say that, like yourself, because like me and Ted look a certain way, and I'm pretty, it's pretty obvious to us. So we and I think people make assumptions based on that a lot. So sometimes I'm kind of terrified to find out who our fan base is, because we're not that way at all. Like, we've always, our table has always been open, and I consider it like an invitation to my gaming table, an invitation to friendship. And no, we always just invited people that we've come in contact who have been interested. And over most of the years, it has been very male and white, but I would say in the last
1 second, my window's open and it's pouring. 1 second.
Yep.
Jesus.
Doing it live, folks.
That came out of nowhere. Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
So, storms happen. It's doing it live. Yeah. So, but like over the last 7 years or so since doing Nerdarchy, it's really exposed us to a larger community and more people. And, it's also expanded our table and, has gotten our table to look a lot more diverse, because we know more people to invite who are interested in the things that we're interested in. So for us, that's been like a really cool thing.
Yeah, no, I try, like, whenever I'm engaging with people that like look a certain way, like you're saying, y'all look a certain way, and some people make assumptions about that. I'm always like trying to be very open-minded. Like, let me check out their content, because like people can't help how they look. Like, I follow this one older white guy, basics of the game. He's awesome. But
Jeremiah,
yeah. He like like at first glance, if you were gonna stereotype him, you'd be like, huh, I feel like, but I'm like, he's amazing. He's great. Like I have such a pleasure being mutuals with him and like seeing his content. So it's like, don't judge a book by its cover, if you can help it.
Yeah.
It's like this. Yeah.
And that's the truth. So we are just past the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out?
Anybody that's thinking about breaking into TikTok and TTRPG writing, go for it. Look for collaboration projects for the writing part if you're not ready to do something on your own. And just like start making TikToks. Doesn't matter if they like look visually horrible. I'm sure you've got something amazing to say to us.
And always, folks, links are in the description, so click away, follow VJ across the interwebs, and until next time, stay nerdy.